I'm Kat, an independent midwife from Wales. Welcome to the Mother of All podcasts, where nothing is off the table of discussion. If it leaks, cries, swears, screams, goes up but doesn't stay up, we're talking about it. It's time to get raw and real. Your no BS guide to pregnancy, preconception, birth, adolescence, wet dreams, wet in the bed, coming home pissed. Who knows? Whatever. We're just going to talk about it. Life in parenting doesn't come with a manual. Well, not a decent one anyway. So let's just create a podcast. Welcome to the Mother of All podcasts. I don't even know where that come from.
That's good. That's good.
That's not even in it.
That's good.
So today we have on our show Kimberly and Charlotte, two rockstar mums who have navigated pregnancy, birth and the postnatal stages while their partners have had cancer. Absolute shitstorm, I'm sure. Well, I definitely know for you. So I just want you to quickly introduce yourself. We'll go to you first.
Hi, I'm Charlotte. I have a 4-year-old little boy and a 2-year-old little girl. And last year, my husband had a reoccurrence of benign, so not cancer, but benign brain tumour that has kind of rocked our world slightly. Yeah.
And Kimberly?
I am Kimberly and I am 33. To think about that. So I'm 33. I have a 2.5-year-old girl, and you can probably hear my 12-week-old little boy. My partner or husband had initially had his first diagnosis back in 2020 during the shitstorm that was COVID. Yeah. So that was fun. And when I was pregnant this last time, so back in, I think it was October 24, he was diagnosed his second time with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
It's a different type.
A different type of cancer, yeah. So he had classical Hodgkin's first time round. And then, different type. So we're ticking the bingo card of cancer, which is not a fun game.
And yeah, hopefully not a third. So we'll start with you. Take me back to the first diagnosis.
So it happened actually before I met Fen. So I think he was first diagnosed. He was a student paramedic, and he'd been having lots of headaches, and went to the GP. They sent him straight off to A&E. He had a scan and they told him immediately that it was a benign trigeminal schwannoma. That was operated on. He had every complication under the sun happen. And then when I met him, he was very wonky, had part of his skull removed. And he was still kind of recovering, I guess, from some of the long-term effects of having the brain surgery. But was told that he would never, they removed all of it, he would never have it back. He had the same chance of having a brain tumour as anybody else. We were like... So
back to basics,
Back to
basically.
basics. So sweet, tick, we're fine. And then, I guess, it was shortly after Violet was born, actually. And we were talking quite a lot, and I said, I think he's got ADHD.
Yes.
And he became not even less helpful as a husband and a father. He became anti-helpful.
Bit aloof.
Yeah, and I'd always have to kind of follow around. There'd be a lid off bleach left somewhere, or really
not good things when you have a child.
A 2-year-old and a baby, marvellous. So I was like, I really think this is ADHD. We've got to get this sorted. And he got diagnosed with ADHD. And then I actually thought he would just have these moments where he ignored me. It turned out he was having seizures.
Wow.
So it wasn't until he would say, I feel really, really nauseous, and then go really, really quiet and go and sit down, or power down, I used to say, and then power back up.
Yeah.
And in my head, when you feel nauseous, you just go really still and quiet. Yeah. So I was like, oh. And then he had one at work in front of his colleagues, and I think it was a much bigger one. It was an absent seizure, and he's paramedic, all of his colleagues are paramedics, and they were like, you just had a seizure. And so that was January last year. And that kind of changed everything, because it meant he couldn't drive operationally as a paramedic. And so we were kind of going through all of that stuff. And we went to the GP and he said, look, I did have a brain tumour a few years ago. Like, could we just double check?
Yeah.
And I made this joke that was like, yeah, he's crying at adverts now, so I really think that there could be something.
But it's true.
But he'd become this like way more emotional person, and we put it down to being a parent. And but yeah, when I met him, he never would have cried at an advert. That's my role. And they were like, yes, we'll definitely do an urgent scan. This is in January. In June, he had the urgent scan. And January to June, urgent scan. And then we were driving down to see my sister and some really old family friends. And they'd called up and asked for a repeat scan. And his vision had started going funny in his eye. Like, was getting double vision. And I said, I think you should call up the epilepsy clinic, actually, and just say...
Things have exacerbated kind of thing. Yeah.
What's going on? And anyway, on the phone in the car driving down, she said, "Oh, I'm just reading your notes, and it says you've got like a 7 centimetre mass in your brain," and that is how we found out.
Wow.
And we were on our way to this like family party, and the kids were in the back.
No, on speaker.
Yeah, I mean, luckily
I know, they wouldn't.
They didn't know, and so Fan and I were like looking at each other.
Were you driving?
I was driving.
Did you pull over?
No, just
classic
going.
woman.
We get to my sister's. She's cooking for all these people.
Oh, wow.
And my sister is like my person to tell this stuff to. And so I just walked in, and as soon as I had a second alone with her, I was like, Fen's got brain tumour. Like, and then people came in and we were back to normal. And then people went out and we were like, oh my God, what's going to happen? What are we going to do?
Yeah.
And I had that point actually was the only point in all of it that I had
a meltdown
and a cry, and I was like, if he dies, 'cause I wasn't working, I was a stay-at-home mum.
Yeah.
It's like, what am I going to do? How do I pay a mortgage? Like, and she was like, it's fine. That'll be fine.
Yeah, your sister's cool.
Like, don't stress about that. Just let's sort Fan out. And then on the drive back home from Katie's, everyone was asleep, and I had an hour and a half cry from the Cotswolds back to Wales, and then that was it.
Yeah. Haven't since.
No, that was my one like emotional thing, and then that was it. And then it all really escalated. It was almost like the moment we found out, then his vision went, and then he started having more and more seizures.
Personality changes.
And when we went to see the neurosurgeon, they were like, you don't have a choice. This has got to come out now. And they knew they wouldn't be able to take all of it because some of it was on like the optic nerve and some was on, an artery. So they just didn't want to touch it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, he had it operated on the day before Barty started school. And that was... I think all of it's a bit like we were saying about when you're pregnant with your first baby.
Yes.
You put all of your attention into giving birth, and I'd put all of my attention into him having an operation and...
Not into the post-op, not
surviving.
postpartum, post-op stage.
I never considered what post-op would be like. And then he was released from hospital 4 days later, a different person. And they were like...
Aww.
Here you go, here is your husband.
Here's your
and I'm
new
like,
husband.
No, I don't know him.
Yeah.
Like, he's not my husband. He doesn't seem to like me. He's like, can you do something? And they were, there was like no support, no help. They were just like, he's not a different person. And I was like...
But his personality had changed completely.
Yeah, so he had gone from like... Corbynite leftist to loving Trump.
No.
Yeah.
God, it sounds like my husband.
There's no
For no
excuse for
reason.
that.
No excuse whatsoever.
But this like huge swing. And then so really since September, as a family, we've been navigating
a new Fen.
So, the children having a new dad and us kind of re-establishing our lives together, and it's so bizarre because you can't talk to anyone about it because nobody understands.
Yeah.
Or they're like talking to your girlfriends about it.
It just sounds so unimaginable that
Yeah.
your husband goes for surgery and comes out a different person with a different personality. Like,
Yeah.
you can't imagine that. Because when you were messaging me and telling me, I was like, how is that possible? You when someone's unwell and whatever's causing that is taken away, you just expect everything to go back to normal.
But it sounds like it's like the core values that made him him
Have gone.
like have changed as well.
Yeah.
Like and they're the like the
the bits you fall in love with.
yeah.
Yeah. It's and you're like
and
married.
what make you you.
Yeah, you're like contractually obliged. You've got children together. You've got to work
it
out
through.
how, And the first bit, there was definitely a lot of like, is this a forever thing or is this a recovery thing?
Yes.
And how long is the recovery? Because I knew I met him in 2015 and he was still recovering from his surgery in 2013. So I kind of in the back of my mind was like, oh, shit. Like,
Yes.
this may not be a
short
6
term
month thing, or it could be a forever thing. Like, what is the...
Have you had any answers about that?
No,
Because they don't know.
no. They haven't even seen him again.
That was 6 months ago.
Yeah, September.
Oh
Yeah.
no,
Bit longer.
8 months.
Yeah.
8 months ago.
Yeah. So, and there is like, at the beginning, in my head, I was like, what is the appropriate amount of time that I can stay here before I can leave?
Yes.
Like, how much time have I got to give this? And Fen and I can talk
Oh,
about
you're
it
so
more
open.
now.
Yeah.
But that first bit, he was so different and such a different person that I was like...
So much so that if you'd met him in that, Fen, you never would have gotten with him.
And there was... I was grieving,
Yeah.
like intensely grieving for my friend and partner and my children's, like, father. And Barty was just... They were so close.
Close, yeah.
And we had to protect the children from Fen because one of the things that happened is he just is not... He's much better at it now, but it's still a process. He is not able to regulate his emotions. And so he just goes from being, like...
Chill.
Chill to...
Not chill.
Not chill. And,
It's confusing.
yeah.
For
and,
kids.
And 4-year-olds and 2-year-olds are frustrating and hard work. And they push buttons.
Yeah, they poke the bear.
They do. So it's been... I mean, we're still, like, in it, but he's easier now. I don't know, I think it's a combination. I think Fen is better, but I have adapted.
Yes, you have to.
And the children have adapted, and we've got a village.
You have got a good village.
Which-
Well, so have you.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
I just don't...
You can't imagine doing it without them.
No, and I feel for people that have not got that.
Well, this is why I wanted to bring you both on, because there are so many people out there who don't have that, don't talk about it, are not open. I mean, we don't live in a fucking world where it's rose-tinted glasses by no stretch of the imagination.
No.
And marriage is a forever thing, and it is in sickness and in health. And,
Yeah.
when you're the kind of person who gets married and that's exactly what it means to you, you never imagine that at some point you'll think... this is just not for
in your head,
me.
do you think in sickness and in health is like looking after them?
A cold,
if
or when they're
poorly?
80.
Yeah, and not like
Not a different person.
not a different
Yeah.
person, and not. Yeah, I think grief is how I've been kind of describing it because I was grieving the loss of him, the loss of my children's father, but the loss of the future that I thought I was going to
Yes.
have and the life that we were going to have, and that. I mean, it was crazy. Weirdly, at this point, 8 months on, I am the happiest and have the
Yes.
best version of my life that I had no idea would happen. And that is because of this has been that kind of nuclear moment that has brought everything
Full circle.
Yeah, and really shone the light on stuff that I needed to change in my life, and that I could say things to people that I've never said.
No fucks.
No fucks given. No fucks given. And the little stuff just doesn't
Matter.
And it's so freeing. Like, I had no idea that, And so loads of, my mum's always like, oh, you're so strong, it's been so awful, I don't know how, which I really can't deal with. But actually,
if anyone could do this, it's
Yes.
you. Piss off.
Hello.
I don't want it to be me.
I don't want to do it. I'm fucking doing it.
and I think anybody in this situation does it.
Yeah.
There is, especially when you've got children, what choice have you got?
And at the deep core of it, like, thanks for sharing all of that, and we'll delve more into it anyway. But at the deep core of it is a love for someone that you had all that time ago.
Yes.
That doesn't go, oh, yes.
Which I think is,
The beacon.
Yeah, it is, isn't
Yeah.
it? You just got to keep.
Yeah, because what have you
going.
got if you haven't got that? And for people who've got faith, that's their faith, and that's fine. That's not me. It's hope.
Well, so the really weird thing that was not on my bingo card is that I have joined a church and
I
have
love
found
that
faith.
for you.
Which, if you had asked me last year,
Yeah, no, I'm
I
shocked.
would have rolled my eyes and fully laughed. And I'm kind of going through a bit of a cognitive dissonance because it's so not.
No, it isn't.
It's so not what I thought would happen, and yet, yeah.
You go where you're driven to, though, like however that looks. And I don't mean that in a godly way, because I'm not that kind of person, but you just go where you need to be.
Yeah. And it has brought a peace and a joy to my life that I didn't expect. And I feel weirdly uncomfortable about it because the guy did not see this in any way. And weirdly, years and years ago, my uncle, who is very religious, said to Fen, do you think that you got a brain tumour because you're a sinner? And
wow.
I was like, hold me back. And I was so angry. And Fen, in his amazingly calm way, said, no. He said, lots of people, in World War II, they would say you find your faith if you're in a foxhole. The holes that were caused by the bombing, and men would hide in them, and that's when they would pray. And he said, I've been in a foxhole and I haven't prayed. Well, it turns out when I'm in a foxhole,
you pray.
I prayed and I got something back from it.
That's
which
so
is
enlightening. And I, knowing you as a person, I totally understand why it's hard to
weird.
admit that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And how amazing, though, that life can change.
Massively.
And amazing that I can change and it can be positive.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really good thing.
It is.
But I'm still slightly weirded out by,
Yeah.
by it.
Yeah, that's like predisposed feelings and thoughts about things, isn't it? You're trying to hash down what your deep roots are when actually this might have just been you all along.
It's crazy. And weirdly, because Fen is his kind of political spectrum, and he's gone from being very liberal to, I think he would say he's libertarian now, and I think probably has made me slightly more libertarian.
Yeah.
He would say he's small c conservative, but he also would have really judged me. Old Fen would have really judged me for this, and new Fen is I think it's amazing, and I think it's really good for our family. And I really like that there's a framework there to help you in a way that he is not able to. So it's bizarre.
That's come full circle.
It has. Yeah,
but that's classic you, though, pulling a positive out of, and him actually.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And over to you. Take me back to when, obviously, the first time was in COVID. Take me back to when he got diagnosed when you were pregnant with Yori.
Okay, so in a similar vein, Tom had classical Hodgkin's before we had our daughter, and he had been 3 years all clear. So he was classed as cured. So we kind of had this, I think it must have been February to... It's 3-4 months where he was in this cured state.
Where you're like ticking a box and being like, we survived that.
But I think anyone who's had a cancer diagnosis and have had that cured status is always waiting for the other shoe to drop. So he was kind of like, every time he got a cold, every time he got a sniffle, he was like, it's back, very ominously.
Yeah.
And then he had a cold and it didn't go, it didn't shift. He had a sore throat for like 3 weeks. Went to the doctors, they gave him antibiotics. He was like, not sure if this is just a cold. And he kind of navigated that for a little while and was absolutely convinced that his cancer had come back. But what was different was the first time round, he presented with sort of lumps in his neck. And they took him out and biopsied him, and that's how he got the diagnosis. But this time round, he had pain. And it was in his throat. So he was just getting worse and worse. Terrible snoring. Awful snoring. Couldn't eat, was really struggling. And then the lumps started coming up again. So he had...
Huge.
Yeah, so actually we were looking before this morning at photos, because I'm rubbish at timelines and things like that. I've actually written down timelines.
Tom keeps it all though, doesn't he?
But yeah, we were looking back through photos and he showed me a photo from September 24. So September just gone, when I was, what would I have been, 3 or 4 months pregnant?
12 weeks,
And it was huge. And I was like, I don't remember it being that big.
Well, I'd come out to see you, and literally 3 days later, I think it was, you messaged me this long message to say you'd been diagnosed.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? I seen him the other day. He looked absolutely normal. And then I come out to see you again, and he had this...
It was so fast growing.
It was massive.
And basically the lymph node had just gone crazy. But yeah, I found out I was pregnant in the June. He started getting pain in the August. September he had the lump. And at the end of September, he had a private ultrasound. And when they went in, they must have nicked something, and it just absolutely exploded. It was huge. And then he went in through the NHS and had a few biopsies. And by October, he hadn't been diagnosed, but he was incredibly unwell, couldn't eat, had lost loads of weight. He was getting night sweats. So he'd shaved his head just because he would be pouring with blood, pouring with sweat. So he was really, really unwell. And then he had another biopsy in November. At this point, he's absolutely convinced, but we're just wondering whether it's the classical Hodgkin's or whether it had mutated or, what it was. But he had his final biopsy in November, and within a week a week and a half, I think it was, he'd started chemo. So it was just like a cat was seeing us at different points, probably every month, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I was sort of texting her saying, well, this has happened now. We don't know what type of cancer it is, whether it's the same one.
There was just no clear path, was there?
It was just a minefield, and obviously your head runs away with you, so you're thinking about what ifs, what if it's this,
well, you're
what if it's that.
pregnant with your second child,
and it's even worse because all your hormones. You're like, well,
am I going to be doing this by myself?
Yeah, that was the main one, because it was so fast. Like, it happened so fast, whereas the first time round it took 20 months from first presentation of a lump to diagnosis. It was really slow, like he didn't have any pain. This time it was like
boom, 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 boom.
And he was so unwell. Like, he wasn't even that unwell when he was having chemo the first time. He was really down. He was physically unable to eat. It was just awful.
Can you just explain what kind of rapid treatment he decided to go down?
Yeah, so typical Tom. So he started treatment at the end of November, and he had something called RCHOP, which is immunotherapy and chemotherapy. He'd had chemotherapy before, but not immunotherapy. So he was classed as not chemo naive, whatever that means. But he was meant to have treatment every 3 weeks. So they call it RCHOP 21. But Tom being Tom researched and looked at papers, and he spoke to his oncologist and asked if he could have R-CHOP 14, which means that he had it every 2 weeks. So he had 6 rounds I think he did the first one with a 3-week gap, and from the second he was determined to have it every 2 weeks. So he put his case forward, and it was essentially so he could finish chemotherapy before the baby was born. So he wanted to just blitz through it, get it done, and hopefully have a couple of weeks before our baby made an appearance in March. And they said yes.
Yes.
I wasn't all for it, but he was really determined. So he kind of put his case forward. The doctor was like, we don't do that. Like, we typically don't do that. There's a reason we do 21.
Is that just to recover?
It's the recovery.
Yeah.
But,
Brutal.
Yeah.
But he's 38 now, so he's 37. And this type of cancer, typically you get much younger or much older. So we were asking them to take into consideration that he's 38, otherwise he's typically really healthy, he eats really well, he's not chemo naive, he has all these other factors, he runs his own business, so taking time off work is really, really difficult. So we had all of that going on, and as we sort of left that appointment, I was like sort of quite pregnant at that point and showing and sort of said, like, you have said that no, we don't typically do that, but please can you take it to the MDT meeting and speak to the team and really put our case forward, even if you don't agree with it. Like, this is something that we think as a family we need to do.
But you, as Kimberly, just his wife, would have preferred him to do the longer one? At that, if you weren't pregnant?
I think so. If we weren't pregnant, I don't think it would be a consideration that he would have just taken it. Actually, it probably would have been a consideration for Tom, because he's like
that's his personality.
He just wants to get it done. He's like, he's the type of person that'll get up in the morning and go to the gym at 5:30 because he just wants to get it done.
Yeah,
whereas I'm like, just wait till I get the energy, and if I don't, I won't go.
Fine.
Oops.
Always tomorrow.
So he's very much that person anyway. But being pregnant was the driving factor for him. But so he did it every 2 weeks. And he smashed it.
Absolutely.
Incredible. But I think what helped was within 5 days of having the first treatment, he could eat. So he saw the symptoms starting to go. So there was he was able to eat. There was absolutely
exactly.
There was hope, and it's working. Because there's that thing, it doesn't work for a certain percentage of people and all that sort of stuff. So he was like, right, okay, so it's working. Okay, I can eat, I can manage this. And he did his 6 rounds, and he finished 2 weeks before the baby. No, 3 weeks. 3 weeks. We looked at the dates. 3 weeks before the baby was born. But we had a few little bumps.
Yes.
Along that road. So he had a PET scan between round 4 and 5, and they saw residual disease. So at that point, they would have expected it all to have gone. But they saw some residual disease at the back of the throat, which he suspected anyway, because his symptoms were disappearing in the way that they presented. So the snoring was kind of one of the earlier ones, so that had taken longer to go, but the throat pain was still there. And he could he had this strange taste in his mouth, and that had come back. So he was like, okay, so a few of the symptoms have been done, but not all of them. So I don't think he was particularly surprised at that scan. I was obviously just like, oh my gosh, because I was 6 months pregnant at this point, and just not enjoying it. But they then said that they were going to add radiotherapy on. And that was to start 4 weeks after chemo finished, which was either when I was having the baby, or a week after having the baby, or 2 weeks after having the baby, depending on when I had him. So that was really, really, really tough. And it turned out that after Yori was born, 3 weeks after he was born, he was quite poorly. We ended up in hospital.
He'd had a guts full then, hadn't he, of him?
And that was the day that he was to start radiotherapy. So me and Yori were in hospital for a week, the same week that Tom was having his first week of radiotherapy.
And what about Evelyn then?
Evelyn
The
was
village.
looked after by our village.
Yeah.
She had
A
she
great
had
time.
a great time. Oh my gosh! When I came home, she had hair clips, she had new jumpers, she had about 5 million pairs of sunglasses, where she'd obviously been taken to Tesco a few times, and she was like, "Please," but she missed us, but it wasn't obvious. So she had a day or a night out over someone's house, and then a night at our house, and someone would stay with her. And then she continued to go to nursery. So we tried to create as much routine and stability. And I didn't want her out for the whole week. I wanted her at home, so she could sleep in her own bed. So that was probably the
worst.
the week that we had the most help.
And 3 weeks after giving a baby,
Yeah.
I mean, that is just remembering back to how hormonal and crazy I felt.
Well, thanks to Kat. So I think when I compare my daughter's birth to my son's birth, so the first and second, the first was, looking back, very traumatic. And my recovery was really, really bad. So I had an episiotomy that didn't heal. It was impossible to move around. It was not a nice time. Yori's birth was completely different. It was at home, as you know. The oxytocin recovery was just wonderful.
bless.
I didn't have the 3-day dip. I was really sort of, in that regard, really stable and mobile and able to get around. So the fact that we were in hospital at 3 weeks and I was having to sit next to him was not a problem. Whereas if it had been Evelyn's birth, impossible. I couldn't have done that. So I think that played a massive part in us as a family, how we were navigating him being unwell, Tom having radio, Evelyn being away from us. That, like, I was able to be that person that kind of, and Tom was still very much that person as well. But yeah, I would say week 2 into week 3 after radio is when he really went downhill again. So it affected, he basically had it all across his neck, which switches off your salivary glands.
Well, he couldn't eat, could he?
Couldn't eat. And it burnt all of his mouth. So, like, he could only eat soft foods, but even that, at one point he could only eat boiled eggs because they were soft and that's all he could tolerate. But I remember looking over to him on the sofa and he'd taken a bite and he was sweating, like profusely sweating. He was close to tears and he was like, it's like chewing glass. He was like, he was like, I can't do this.
Yeah, I think I come out to do a bid visit and it was the first time I heard him say, like, I don't think I can do this anymore. And I was like,
and he was walking around the house. I remember, like, all his hair had gone by this point.
Yeah.
And I remember him just walking around the house
again.
going, I can't do this. I don't think I can carry on with it. And I was like,
what do you say when
holding
you've got
this baby
and
a toddler, like, well, you have to.
And he's the most,
you have to. And he was like, no, but I actually don't think I can. And that was that was a big, big wobble for us, because I was like, well, if you don't, what does that mean?
Yes. Yeah, because you would never think he's the person that carries on. So you would never be in a position up till then where you'd think he would give up. Like, this is the guy that's brought all his treatment forward. He wants to make it right. So the fact that he's even thinking, I can't do this, the amount of pain that he must have been in.
It's unfathomable.
Yeah.
Even watching him, like, I couldn't imagine it. Sorry, Charlotte. But I sort of said to him, look, this was on a Friday, and I said, go Monday. Just go Monday and tell them you want to speak to someone before you have treatment.
Yeah.
And that you're not sure if you're going to have it, and if you can't speak to someone, you're coming home and you're not having treatment. And that's what he did. And he went and he said, I can't do this. And they said, well, what pain medication you're on? He was like, None.
Honestly,
because
zero.
he's the person who doesn't want to have Oromorph because it makes him sleepy and we've got a newborn.
Yeah.
So he came home with a whole bag full, like a massive bag full.
All the drugs in the world.
Yeah, and he took them, and it was still incredibly hard. but he was able to function and manage.
And he did it. So I met them for their postnatal discharge in a pub, obviously. And
because wine has been a
amazing.
great help too. I haven't found God, but I have found the corkscrew.
Both pretty successful.
And I sat opposite him and I went, fucking hell, you've got hair.
Yeah.
Because I totally forgot. He has got such a big head of hair, and obviously I knew him before his cancer diagnosis, and he's always had this great hair, but I totally forgot that he had hair. He looked, and that wasn't that long after that last treatment. His hair has just grown back so quickly.
So he had. So when you finish radio, the symptoms continue to persist for a week or two, and he struggled for another week or two, and then he just turned a corner. He still has lots of the symptoms, so he still very much struggles with saliva, very much struggles with the mouth, but that and taste buds and things like that. Couldn't taste food. That's coming back, but it's not linear. So the taste buds are developing at a different rate. So sometimes things taste great, and then the next week it tastes awful again because a different part of his. It's just
so fascinating.
Oh wow.
But
what about his pain management?
So the pain after radio did stop. So he's back in our bedroom now.
Oh, amazing!
Because it was about a couple of weeks after Yori was born. He was back as the snoring stopped, and we had to sleep.
Well, he had to recover, and so did you.
Yeah. And when Yori was born, he had to use that time to build his strength ready for radio. So we slept in separate beds because at first he was waking up sweating, and then I was waking up and tossing and turning because I was 8-9 months pregnant and frustrated, getting up for the toilet, waking him up, then he'd be up from 2 a.m. So it just made sense for us. And especially then when, newborns are so loud, aren't they? They're so loud.
You always forget actually how snuffly it is. Like having a little piggy in your bed next to you. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we sort of prioritised sleep at that point, and we divided and conquered a little bit.
Yeah, you did, because I remember coming out and I was like, I think it was at the point where we were having the breastfeeding discussions, and I was like, you need to sleep.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh, but
Tom needs to sleep.
Yeah,
and that was a real
Tom
consideration.
Needs to sleep, and he come into the room and he was like, I slept all night, like you didn't, so you sleep and I'll have him. And whether he was in pain or not at that point, that's when he stepped up.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing both your stories. Obviously, I've got loads more questions for you. To be fair, I think you've answered most of them. This isn't a nice question, but I just think you're both very open and honest. If you don't want to answer it, you don't have to. Mm-hmm. Was there ever a feeling of, well, you've kind of touched on it, ever a feeling of resentment towards, it's going to be towards your husband, but it's not them, is it? It's the cancer, it's the diagnosis, the life changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a mental battle because I knew it wasn't his fault.
Yes. Mm.
This wasn't like he's just suddenly behaving like an asshole. Like I could see he had no control over it. And he was as much a victim of circumstance as I was. But weirdly, so this is kind of what led me to faith. See, I'm weirded out by it. But so I went, because my mother-in-law, when Fen had the brain tumour the first time, she found God.
Wow.
So basically we took the piss out of her for a long time about this.
Eating it out now.
Am I just? But because both mums, dads, my sister have been so amazing. But Sue, because she's in Lantuit with us all the time, because church is so important to her, I was like, well, let's go
Give
along.
It a go.
Let's go along because it means something to her. And actually, I was exhausted. The kids went and did kids club for an hour, and I was like, well, I can just sit down quietly, for an hour.
Sin kumbaya.
Yeah. And I was like, anyway, one week Sue wasn't able to go, and I was like, well, we're just going to go anyway because we'd kind of got into the routine.
Yeah.
And the kids enjoyed it. Anyway, we went, and it's
Life
a really
changer.
singy church. Like there's lots of music, which is my bag, and the the pastor was like, I'm frustrated today because I really wanted us to sing this song and we couldn't, so we're going to sing this one instead. And this song was basically about showing grace to yourself. And there was like a click that I'd been torturing myself, that I couldn't show Fen the grace that he needed. And actually, it wasn't him that needed the grace.
No, it was you.
It was me.
To allow yourself to feel resentful.
Yeah. And it's okay. And then it was like a switch. I stopped being angry with him.
Oh,
I stopped being cross with myself. I enjoyed my children again.
Oh, wow.
So I'm sorry. Oh, this is why it seems crazy, because I didn't ever think that this would happen. I never thought that I would find.
I think most people reach that time. It's always a life-changing, definitive moment.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I'm a hippie, as you know. I don't really believe in anything, but I don't disbelieve in anything. I fucking hate the quote, everything happens for a reason, because, look at you two. After what you guys have gone through, how can anyone believe that? But I do believe that you'll be at a place at the right time when you need it. And that's what that sounds like.
Yeah, it just...
Because resentment is the most horrendous feeling, that and bitterness.
And that's exactly what I had. And I was looking... I wasn't looking for a way out. I was like, how do I stay in this marriage and not hate this person?
Yeah, and feel like you have to stay and genuinely you don't want to.
Yeah, and it was like a light switch. And
that's such an honest thing to share. Thank you. Someone out there is feeling that and will be crying after they've listened to you. What about you, Kimberly? Did you ever feel resentment? It's still fresh for you.
Yeah, I don't think I have. I think in the same way that it's completely out of our control.
Yeah.
It's not his fault. It's not my fault. It's not anyone's fault. It's just something that we have to do.
You're a planner, aren't you?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think so. I think the only point, and I know that Tom felt this quite deeply as well, that he's convinced this is our last baby. I'm not so convinced.
Bullshit.
But if that is the case...
Kat's got it in her diary already.
I know. If that's the case, I really, I really wanted to make the most of it. I wanted to be not even enjoy it, but just to experience all of it and be mindful and conscious that this is the last pregnancy. So I want to take it all in. And there would be weeks where I wouldn't even think about the baby inside me.
That was a struggle.
And that's how it had to be, because I had to think about what was in front of me. But I think I wouldn't say it's resentment. I think there was a bit of disappointment, bit of upset that I couldn't fully
immerse.
But then I probably wouldn't have anyway.
You're not. I was just going to say,
because I had a toddler, and because I was thinking about work or all these. I don't even know if that would have happened anyway. Do you think social media
makes you think that that's how you should feel?
No, I don't think so. I think for me it was about really
this is going to be my last. I'm doing it all.
Yeah, and I feel that with him now. I just everything I'm just oh. I just want to make the most of it, even and it's made the hard parts easier because you kind of know with your second, don't you, that this teething phase doesn't last a couple of days. We'll be back. It just makes things so much calmer and easier, and I just feel knowing that has made me.
I'll just plant a seed. The third is the easiest. I'm just saying, putting that out there to both of you. Well,
I think.
They are, because you've got 2 kids to help.
Give me the stats.
And my kids will agree.
Tom likes data.
Wait until he's 3.
And then you'll feel
having had a little boy, how old was Violet? So Barty was 2 years and 3 months when Violet was born.
And she's coming up to...
She'll be 3 in November.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think resentment was one of the things that I felt.
Just disappointment.
Yeah, and not at him, just
the situation.
And I guess you said earlier, there's a little bit of a grief. You kind of mourn something, and I kind of mourned the pregnancy that I thought and hoped that I was going to have.
Yes.
But actually, when he arrived and he was perfect, and it doesn't matter.
And I'm biased on this, but there's something so beautiful about home birth.
Oh, huge.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
Well, you
And
appreciate
healing on all fronts, isn't it?
And for us, we book out before Tom's diagnosis.
Yeah.
But knowing that it would be at home, knowing that Tom would be away from infections, that we'd spent every week in the hospital. Sometimes we'd arrive for an appointment at 11 o'clock and we wouldn't be seen till 2. Like, we just spent so much time in a hospital for horrible reasons that every time I went in I had to have growth scans. Every time I went in, they were like, "Oh, your blood pressure's high." I'm like, "Because I hate being here."
And also, I'm going through a shit show of an emotion or roller coaster at home.
So knowing that we were going to be able to do it, and not knowing how Tom would be feeling, whether he would still be very unwell and needing to sleep, whether he would still be in pain, would he be able to sit in a chair next to me for 2 days if that was what was going to happen?
Yeah.
Incidentally, it didn't.
Exactly.
And I guess also being free of that very paternalistic NHS healthcare model where you are told very prescriptively how it's going to be. Because you don't work that way at all. So
and I don't being like told what to do.
No.
Don't know.
Never in a million years.
Not at all. But you're absolutely right. Having that bit of control over where and what that would look like in our house, and being able to plan nice things, and having Kat come to our house for those prenatal appointments, and be able to sit there and know that, you know, Tom's in his joggers and he doesn't no one cares. Kat's come in her pyjamas anyway.
I come in my pyjamas anyway.
Actually do.
So that was a big thing for us.
Yeah.
Looking back, both of you, is there anything, like at the crux of it all, because you're coming out the other end, which is going to take years, I'm sure, is there anything that you wish you would have known that would have made it easier? Does that make sense? Like for anyone who's just on the precipice of just getting all this, you know, my husband's just been diagnosed with cancer, would have you changed anything to make it easier for dealing with it? Or is that even possible?
Here you go.
I was going to say, I would say about the grace, giving yourself grace.
Yes.
I think we're so harsh on ourselves sometimes, and we you know, we want to keep routine and we want to keep things normal, and we want to have this front, especially I think sometimes for our children. I remember when Yori was in hospital and Tom was having radio, he said, "I don't think I can go home and see Evelyn today because I'm just going to cry."
Yes.
And I said, "Well, let us see you cry."
Yeah.
Like, it's absolutely fine. And he was like, "But I'm her dad." And I was like, "Dads cry too."
Yeah.
Like, go home, cry. And if she asks you why, say because you've been missing her. Say because you're worried that he's in hospital. Say that you're missing mummy.
And you want your family together,
Like,
yeah.
I was like, because she's probably feeling all those things too and doesn't know how to say it.
Did he go home?
So he went home and he said, "I cried." And I was like, good. I was like, and was Evelyn okay? Absolutely fine.
She probably, I mean, I don't know if she'll remember it, who knows, but it definitely would have had an impact.
Yeah.
Like a positive impact to see her dad cry. That's one thing I would say about Nathan is my girls see him every single emotion, and Evan he's very sensitive too.
But I think, giving yourself grace and letting, like, I used to be a stickler for having a really lovely clean house. Yeah. And now I'm just like, oh, does it matter there's toys on the floor and I haven't done dishes? Does it matter that the dishwasher hasn't been loaded? We've got other things.
Yeah.
That'll happen.
Yeah, that'll come back tenfold when the kids are old enough to do it.
And they can do it, yeah.
What about you?
I think I wish I'd
been kinder.
Earlier,
yeah. But also, and that you can find joy in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you have. That's blown me away, and I'm so glad that you have, because you have to find it, however it looks.
And I think you mean that in the day-to-day as well, not like those big defining moments.
No, I mean me sitting on the hallway floor sorting laundry and Fenn's bathing the kids, and I'm like,
this is
absolutely.
Yeah, like
this is what life is about.
Can you take a picture? Like, not an actual picture, but like just a
click in your memory.
This. Yeah.
Whereas, pre-diagnosis, pre-shitstorm, I should say, that might have felt like, oh, fucking hell, here's me doing the laundry, just bath the kids. And when actually, Jesus Christ, how many people actually get to do
It's
that?
a new appreciation, I think, for the...
It really is. Yeah. It really is.
Yeah, we get that, I think.
Yeah.
We feel that.
I've never thought of it like that. Again, thanks for sharing. We're nearly there, guys. How has it shaped you as a person, as a parent? Because Fen had his after you've had both your kids. Saying, you know, you knew Tom Tom had his before you had kids, and then hit you now. Do you think it's changed you as a parent?
Yeah, it's changed us as people, so it had to have changed us as parents. I think it had changed us the first time round. Yeah. Because we already felt like a little bit, I know Tom did, felt that he was on borrowed time anyway. Yeah. So like anything now is a bonus, you know? Like and that made us, I think, a lot more I don't know, grateful, appreciative.
Every minute.
Of
that
parenting.
cliche, but it's so fucking true, isn't it?
Yeah. But so it's hard to say, really. I think it changed us before we had babies.
Yeah.
We didn't have that sort of transformation. So you might have some other thoughts.
What about you?
I think it has.
Yeah.
But I remember saying to Fen a little while ago, like, I have a finite amount of patience. Yeah. And one of the things that I struggle with is that Fen needs a lot more of that quota of patience for him. For me not to be like, you're being ridiculous. Yeah. Like, this is the plan. We need to leave the house. You can't go and...
Well, like this morning.
Oh, yeah. And one of the bits of me giving myself grace was I was so upset that I was losing my temper with my children, and they were getting the response because I was not...
You're frustrated with him.
I was frustrated with Fen, and the children were getting this response, and I was, just... You know when you lie in bed at the end of the day and you're like...
I feel like a shit mem.
Could have done better today.
Could have done better today.
That was a 30. Yeah. That was a 30.
Yeah, 3 out of 10 on my behaviour.
Yeah, totally. And you're like, whoops.
I mean, mums feel like that anyway.
They
but
do.
Add on to it everything else that you've got on. Your 40% days probably felt like fucking 20% days.
Yeah. But I'm really good at apologising to my children now.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
And, like, I am really sorry. You did not deserve that. I should not have got cross with you about this. This is my problem, not yours. I'm really sorry.
I think we all need to be more like that, don't we? To know, like, and for our children to know that we're not perfect. I remember being like 20 when I realised my parents weren't perfect. And be like, hang on a minute, they're real life people?
Yeah.
Well, they're not like this. They haven't got their shit together all the
time.
Exactly.
You know, I've got adult kids, and one of the things I always say is I apologise to them all the time because I'm a nutter. And you can guarantee if there's an argument to be had, it's because of something I've done or said. I don't have a problem with apologising, but you've just literally made me think, I don't know if I did it when they were younger. I'm going to go home and think about it. I'm sure I did, but I don't know. Yeah.
And when you like...
So that's you taking a positive out of it because you've grown.
Yeah, I saw a thing, it was some stupid thing on Instagram that was like, just before you completely lose your shit with the children, look how small their hands are and their feet are.
Gone. I've read it. Yeah. Tears.
And sometimes I just need that, like,
yeah,
this is, we're going to be late, all right?
They're two.
Yes.
Do you know what?
Getting in the car
Go
is
to
hard.
nursery in your gym jams.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Whatever.
Do you know, it takes one parent, with me, it takes one parent to do that for all the other parents to be like, oh, wow, yeah, some days. We were talking when you were walking here. I was like, I bet you she's panicking. It doesn't matter how many times you tell yourself, oh, you know, Kat won't mind, she understands these 12 weeks, but you still have this duty thinking you've got to be somewhere on time. You've got to commit to what you committed to, and you can't say no to anything. And I mean, if you take anything away from it, you've got to have the no fucks, right?
The no fucks. Or like, you know, we always say we're juggling balls. And it was another thing I think I posted.
I've seen this.
Some balls are plastic and some balls are glass. Yes. You just got to choose which ball you can drop. And sometimes that's a child thing, and sometimes that's a work thing, and sometimes that's a home thing, or a car thing, or a cleaning thing. But actually, it doesn't matter.
As long as those glass balls.
Catch the right balls.
Yeah, absolutely.
So 3 questions that I ask everyone who comes on my show. Well, you've been sent these first 2. You've talked about so many defining moments, so you've probably mentioned quite a few. But what is a defining moment in your life?
It's always going to be becoming a mum.
Yeah.
Because that changed everything.
Yeah.
You're just not selfish in the same way.
No, you can't.
You have to get through everything because you've got little people that need you.
Yeah. What about you?
I did mine was losing my mum.
Oh.
So, again, like it's always goes back to mums, doesn't it, or children in some way. My mum had brain cancer, and she died when I was 23, and we had about a year of knowing she was unwell. But I think when I look at the trajectory of my life, it all kind of goes back to that moment, like what I do for work, like how I parent my children, like how I think a lot of the things in me and my values and how I support myself, support other people, all come back to the things that I learned in those years after losing my mum, because she was my best friend, and then becoming a mum myself.
All of that comes back.
Yeah, but actually it was really lovely.
Yeah.
Because
look how proud she'd be.
Yeah, and she was she was 31 when she had me. I was 31 when I had Evelyn. We have 3 weeks. Me and my mum had birthdays around the same time, same as me and Evelyn. It just felt really lovely.
That's so special.
And I felt really connected, and I thought she was my age. She was my age when she had a baby. She was feeling all these lovely things towards me, and that was really, really, really special. That was probably the closest I've felt to her since she died, having babies myself.
Yeah.
But I tell them all the time, your nanny Kath would love you doing this, or this is what she used to say. So, yeah.
That's so special. You know what, you're right, it does always come back to mums and children. That's why I wanted to ask the question to everyone to see what they say. What's one piece of advice you would give your younger self if you could?
I like the choices you make today affect the ability of choices that you have tomorrow.
Yeah.
And, it's a good thing. Every choice has got consequences, but
make them wisely. Yeah. Yeah, because you could have choose to walk away, and look how happy you are now. That's wild.
Wild.
What about you?
Mine probably goes back to not to give a fuck.
Literally.
I think when I was younger, I think we all do. We care too much about what other people think of us and what people would say and about the choices we would make. And I think a lot of the choices that the work that I do now, I waited years to do it because I was worried about what other people would think or say. And I love it. It's the best thing that I've ever done.
Yeah, breathe.
So I just think just knowing yourself and having the confidence to make the decisions for you.
Yeah. That
would be really...
That's not in you. That's this whole nature-nurture thing. It's a learnt behaviour that you probably take years to get to. Knowing me as a person, you'd think I've been like this all my life. I was definitely a pleaser. What would they think about this? And still sometimes now. But it's definitely the most life-defining thing you could do for yourself is just give no fucks.
Yeah.
I do give fucks. But
when
the things that don't matter. Yeah, the things that are irrelevant.
Yeah.
If someone likes you or not.
And I think the other thing for me is practicing the gratitude.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Really embracing it. I'm so grateful for the village, for my mum, Fenn's mum. Out of all of this stuff, my dad left his wife to come and be with us.
Oh, wow, that's so lovely.
And he's part of our village now, my sister.
She's great.
Yeah.
How people do this with our village.
I know.
I've got no idea, and I'm so grateful for all of them. And they all bring something different, which
and
is
your
amazing.
village can be whatever it looks.
Yeah.
It could be church, it could just be a group of women that you've met. So, my piece of advice is always reach out, as hard as it is, because we're just fixers. And last and final question. If there's a book or a film or a quote that has shaped you in some way that you think everyone out there should at least listen to or read once, what is it?
You brought it with you.
Yeah.
Mine is the Megan Devine
Okay.
book.
And
It's
why?
Okay That You're Not Okay.
Oh.
So it's a book that I read after my mum died, and it's in like really easy language, chunk-sized pieces, nice little chapters, and you can kind of pick it up and read a paragraph, and that would be like standalone almost. So you don't need to have like the concentration span or anything like that. But it just changed the way that I experience grief and loss, and whether that's from death or from an experience life altering, like it's how I
altering moment.
it's how I supported Tom through it all. And it's basically that you can't fix things. It's all about that people who are grieving are not broken and they don't need to be fixed.
Yeah.
And it's about walking alongside them.
And that's so fundamental to the work you do as well.
Oh, absolutely.
I've never read it.
It's really good, and I tried to bring it today because I've had about 4 copies, but I keep giving them away because I'm like, read this book. But I think everybody should read it, whether you experience loss, whether you're going through something, whether you haven't, and you know there's nothing on the horizon, because it just changes the way that we think about loss. And that, like, divorce,
in whatever form.
Like it could be anything, absolutely anything. But the fundamental is that you're not broken, so you don't need to be fixed.
I love that.
What a healing
It's amazing.
sentiment. If you can live that, that's
exactly.
amazing.
Just
And
that,
it
just that one
helps.
sentence, actually.
Yeah, and it just helps to know, like when Tom was at his lowest, or when I was at my lowest, me offering support in advice. Well, why don't you try this? Why don't you do this? That's my child. I don't know if the mic picked that up.
Lovely.
But that wasn't helpful. It was about being alongside him and being like, this is shit, and all we can do is this moment.
Yeah. What can we do right now?
Yeah. And it takes you away from all that unsolicited advice and the things that we say to fill the gap because we feel awkward.
Oh.
And we don't want to see our loved ones in pain, so we want to fix it. And that kind of this book flipped that on its head. Well, I don't want to see in my pain.
I definitely need to read this book.
But everything happens for a reason. We talked about this. At least any sentence that starts with at least just needs to be.
Well, we were talking about
before it comes out of your mouth.
Tom's got a wicked personality, and he's got a great sense of humour. I remember when he was like, I just love when people are like, oh, well, at least you've got, at least you're alive for your baby. Yeah. At least you're this. At least what the fuck do you mean? At least.
Just come on, lucky stars.
What's yours, Lovely?
Mine's a poem.
Go for it.
Because I'm like a huge poetry nut. Right. So it's called Joy Chose You by Donna Ashworth. I don't know whether you've heard it.
Yes, I do.
So joy does not arrive with a fanfare on a red carpet strewn with flowers of a perfect life. Joy sneaks in as you pour a cup of coffee, watching the sunlight hit your favourite tree just right. And you usher joy away because you're not ready for her. Your house is not as it should be for such a distinguished guest. But joy cares nothing for your messy home, or your bank balance, or your waistline. You see, joy is supposed to slither through the cracks of your imperfect life. That's how joy works. You cannot truly invite her, you can only be ready when she appears, and hug her with meaning, because in this very moment, joy chose you.
Oh my God, that is so beautiful.
So that's my crying quota for the year. Done.
I absolutely love that. I don't think you could have been any more on. Is there anything else you want to add? Do you feel like you've had an opportunity to kind of tell your story?
I feel like I should say that although Fenn's personality has changed, I still love him.
I think you love him even more.
And I still choose him
every day.
Every day.
I genuinely, from spending this hour with you and knowing you as a person, I think you've probably come out the other end and you love him even more.
I do.
And I've been there. It's so beautiful.
Well,
maybe him and my husband can go for a pint and be bigots together.
Some things can be unlearned, right?
What are we trying to do, girls? Fix something?
Oh, yeah. All right, take my own advice.
Oh, thank you so much for today. You've been amazing.
It's been lovely.
I'll definitely have you back on again. And look,
he's just so great. Mention
and this is baby Yori, who's been so well behaved, and you can definitely come back.
Slept through most of it. and
Fab.
smack in a...
Done. Thank you. Oh my God, that was amazing.